What's good, TMG fam? It's your boy Ellen, and I'm back with another reaction. How y'all feel? Welcome back to the channel. Salute. So this is the start of like my Scared Straight program right here, bro. All right, this is the start of my Scared Straight program. The top 10 prisoners that most humans fear. I figure if these kids hear these stories, because a lot of times they don't hear it. You know what I mean? They don't hear about the prison until they get to the prison. I mean, they hear a few stories here and there and different things, but they don't really set in and they don't really get it to hear it till they're already at the prison. And by then it's too late. So let's implement that real quick. You know what I mean? Let's do a little Scared Straight of our own. So this is like I said, the top 10 prisoners that most humans fear. All right. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, join the fam. Once you do that, join us with one thing we like to do over here, man. You can't forget about your haters. Your haters are your motivators, bro. Know you've heard that before, but it's true. Your haters are your motivators. So over here, we like to acknowledge them. We give them a little moment of silence for them, okay? So here we go. Moment of silence for the haters. That's enough. Now run the likes up. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Let's go.
Don't worry, at least they're behind bars. Unlike some other lists we do, these dudes are actually locked away so they can't hurt you. Maybe. I tried to put these prisoners in order of the worst, but all of them are just kind of, awful, and they've taken lives and done awful things. So it's like, you know what? In no particular order, we are counting out today our list of top 10 prisoners that most humans fear. So yeah, they're just awful. I'm creeped out. Welcome back, Most Amazing Top 10. I'm your host, Rachel Fisher, and I would like to spend the rest of the day watching Disney, so I feel better about compiling this list, but alas, we all want things, don't we? Number 10, the Eyeball Man. Can anyone honestly say they aren't scared of this guy? The dude blacked out his eyeball, so he looked like a demonic Jack Skellington. More like Hack Skellington. Eyeball Man's real name is Jason Barnum and is currently living out a 22-year sentence for shooting an Alaska police officer. Barnum's crime was heavily influenced by a hefty addiction.
Like, y'all remember the little kiddie movie, The Little Giants? And when they was trying to get some help from the pro football players, they was like, what's one thing you need? He was like, intimidation. Arrgh. This dude right here has that down pat. You hear me? Down pat. He knows how to, bro, you see somebody with a skull tattooed to the top of their head. Huh? Is he a guy that looks like he just want to sit down and have a good conversation with you? Or is that somebody you're going to have to watch out for the entire time you're in prison? Huh? That looks like a dude that you shouldn't trust at all. There's no reason to trust this dude at all. Look at the barbed wire outlining out around the skull. And then, get this, and then the fool blacked out his eye. I'm waiting for somebody to give me a good quality about this dude. Somebody, anybody, please, good quality. None, you ain't got none.
22-year sentence for shooting an Alaska police officer. Barnum's crime was heavily influenced by a hefty addiction to chasing the dragon. 3 officers were investigating vehicle break-ins and burglaries in South Anchorage and spotted a vehicle related to the attacks in a hotel parking lot. They checked out the security footage and saw a man carrying a tote to room 209. Barnum and 2 others were in the room, and when officers entered the bathroom, the shootout began. Barnum was injured in the arm, but they arrested him when he got out of the hospital, and they had to deal with how terrifying he looks, even though he's behind bars, so yeah. Number 9, Eric R. Rudolph. Resourceful and resilient, Eric R. Rudolph quickly got on America's Most Wanted list. Why? Well, during 1996 to 1998, Eric detonated bombs 4 times in Atlanta and Birmingham, taking the lives of 2 people and injuring thousands. A 5-year manhunt ensued. He was finally caught in May 2003 after he was found rummaging through a dumpster. Later, it was revealed how intense his survival skills were. For 5 years, Eric foraged off the lands and survived off of buried barrels of grain and soy. He learned the schedules of when produce was going to be thrown out at grocery stores and stole what he could where it wouldn't be noticed. His motivation behind the bombings was a compilation of radical anti-gay, anti-abortion, and anti-government. The list goes on. He didn't get along with other people, and when he confessed to his crimes, he showed no remorse. But when he was taken away to go to prison, authorities report that the man had tears in his eyes, knowing he was utterly defeated. What can I say, man?
See, that's what I be saying, man, when we have these big political discussions and big things that we debate back and forth about, and people are for this and they're against this. You don't know how serious people take this stuff. You know what I'm saying? They take this stuff very serious to where you may think you're arguing with somebody and you're just having a really great debate. Somebody could be receiving that totally different and really hone in and want to kill you over a debate or over a topic or over a social issue or what's going on in this country. Whatever it is, somebody could really, really take it to heart and want to kill you over that. And that's crazy to me. We don't even live in a country where we can have sound debates or disagreements on a thing and agree to disagree. That's scary. So when you see all this stuff going on in the news, if that don't alarm you, then I don't know what will, bro. It's alarming to see some of the things that you see on the news.
Authorities report that the man had tears in his eyes, knowing he was utterly defeated. What can I say, man? Your actions brought you to where you are now, so sorry about it. Sorry, not sorry. Number 8, Robert P. Hansen. The man the FBI was afraid of, and he was right under their noses. Joining them for lunch in the cafe, grabbing coffee with them, laughing at the cooler. But all the while, Robert P. Hansen was a mole. On February 18th, 2001, Robert was arrested and charged with committing espionage on behalf of intelligence services for the former Soviet Union and their successors. He was caught red-handed placing a package containing highly classified information at a park in Vienna, Virginia for his Russian handlers. When the FBI searched his apartment, it became apparent his payment was in cash and diamonds with a value of over $600,000. Hansen handed over dozens of delicate files, including FBI counterintelligence investigative techniques, sources, methods, operations. He exposed the FBI's secret investigation of Felix Bloch, a Foreign Service officer for espionage. He pled guilty to 15 accounts of espionage on July 6, 2001 and was sentenced to prison without the possibility of parole. He is considered the most dangerous spy in FBI history. God knows what he said. Number 7, David Carpenter. I know Lisa Rinna from Dancing with the Stars because I love a good foxtrot. Love it. But she's actually more well known for being a desperate housewife. But it turns out that her very own mother was actually David Carpenter's first victim. She knew him from work and he offered to give her a ride home, and he had kids and a wife. Soon he was on top of her, hammer and knife in hand, but thankfully a cop was nearby who suspected something was amiss, so she was saved. David was sentenced to 14 years in prison where he was diagnosed as a sociopath with a very high IQ. He was released after only 9 years and quickly went on to commit more attacks against women. Good call on releasing him, just saying. Like, what? Ugh. I hate that. I hate that. At one time, he was even suspected of being the Zodiac Killer. Instead, he became known as the trailside killer who would prey on women on hiking trails. He took the lives of 10 people, though it's probable that there were more. Just 2 survived, and officers described that he was a kind of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of behavior. He was super nice, but then he had this insane...
See, that's how they get you in prison. Kiddos, listen up. People, listen up. That's how they get you in prison. Sitting there, you eating your little tray out your little prison tray every day, making conversation with a dude, comes off very, very harmless. Oh, you think he's harmless as a house cat. He ain't gonna do nothing to you. Then he wait for you to let your guard down, and you end up strangled or hit with a shank, some kind of prison shank, something he done filed down and got all sharp and done stabbed you up like 10 times and walked off and left you. And licking his fingers with the blood on him. And you like, but I never suspected him. Yep, you didn't. That's exactly how he got you. Exactly how he got you. Set up, done.
Psycho, creepy, dark side as well. Number 6, Zacarias Musawi. The ADX prison is intended as a holding cell to teach prisoners proper conduct before they are sent to penitentiaries. However, some are so bad that they are never released for fear they might inspire new crimes if allowed to communicate to those outside the walls. Zacarias is one of them. He is currently serving out 6 life sentences for assisting the hijackers who carried out the, you guessed it, the 9/11 attacks on the World Trade Center. Musawi was placed on a watch list in 1999 when he started interacting with Islamist extremists. He could have prevented the attacks entirely, however he lied to the FBI about the Al-Qaeda and their plans to attack the US. He was even supposed to pilot a plane into the White House. He was arrested in August 2001 and went on trial in 2006. Throughout the trial, he praised the Al-Qaeda and was removed for several outbursts. A very different tone to the note he wrote recently in 2020 renouncing Al-Qaeda and appealed to younger Muslims to be wary of their deceptive ways. I really do hope he is genuine.
Y'all buying that? Me neither. Me neither. You're a king of deception. You could have prevented all those killings they just said. but you didn't. Now here in 2020, you want to denounce and now talk bad and talk down about him? No. I don't believe. No, they better not release him back onto the streets. No, ain't no way.
Genuinely released those ideals. However, he did do it in an attempt to relax his sentence. As recently as 2018, he was still referring to himself as a natural-born terrorist, so needless to say, I don't see things relaxing anytime soon. Number 5, the marathon bomber, Jahar Tsarnaev. Speaking of the ADX prison, there is yet another permanent resident behind its walls. Jahar Tsarnaev is responsible for the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing, which took the lives of 3 people and injured 250 people in the large crowd. This event shook the world, and I remember when it happened. I remember checking my phone repeatedly in order to figure out what's happening and follow with updates, and I'm sure a lot of you do too. He and his brother Tamerlane used 2 pressure cookers packed with explosives and shrapnel. His brother was shot during a police chase while Jahar was taken into custody. He was 19 when he committed the crime and 21 when he was finally tried. The trial consisted of heartbreaking testimonies from families of the injured and the dead. The death penalty was disbanded in Boston for decades, but it was considered for this case as it was a federal case. He was instead given his life sentence to be served out in solitary confinement with no opportunities to communicate with the outside world, and that is probably how it's going to remain for the rest of his life. Wow, so young. Number 4, the Nithari Killers. The Nithari crimes came to light on December 29th, 2006, after 8 skeletal remains of young bodies were found in the drain of a house in Nithari, Noida. The owner of the house and the businessman Mohinder Singh Pandar and the domestic help Surinder Kohli were arrested. Soon after they were found, even more bodies turned up. The village had been making noise about the disappearances for a while before anything was done, but now the Nithari Killers remain some of the most horrific people behind bars. Over 16 young people fell victim to kidnapping, vicious bodily violations, and death, which believed to have occurred between 2005 to 2006. Both men have been found guilty and the death penalty is in discussion, though has been delayed. Some believe that there is money involved in the case that may result in an unfair result, but considering the severity of the case, release is not really on the table. I'm not gonna lie, it was hard to get a straight story on this. There's a lot of convoluted details across the articles I could find, so if you have more info you want to share, drop it down below. Number 3, Larry Hoover. This dude is so powerful that he was continuing to run his operation while serving out a 200-year sentence for murder. Larry Hoover was, / is, I suppose, the chairman of the notorious gangster Disciples gang. He was convicted 2 decades ago of continuing to run his empire behind bars. Hoover, now 70, is serving out 6 life sentences at the Supermax Federal Prison in Florence, Colorado, a facility that holds the worst of the worst. Terrorists, mobsters, anyone who'd be a danger to anyone from the outside. It is said to be the most secure in the country. He established the gang in Chicago in the 1960s and has recently decided to try and take some of them down. The indictment accused 7 state and national leaders of the gangster Disciples of racketeering conspiracy, drug trafficking, witness intimidation, and multiple murders, including the 2018 death of a 65-year-old ranking member of the gang on Chicago's South Side. Beware if you've ever crossed Larry Hoover, because even behind bars, you can't stop him. Number 2.
They're actually, I want to make sure I'm saying that right. I'm gonna look it up though and verify, and I may just clarify it on another video, but I thought Kanye was working to get him out. I think that's what I had heard. Man, I think he said that on Drink Champs. If you're a fan of Drink Champs, and go watch that. It's a really good platform that they do a lot of interviews, and Kanye was the biggest, most recent one. And I thought they were saying that they were working on getting him out.
2, James Marcelo. I honestly sound like I'm in a 1940s film noir when I was researching this. You'll see why in a second. He is the highest ranking Chicago mob boss in prison, also known as Jimmy the...
Ooh, highest ranking mob boss. Meaning he could just go like that and you're done. You know what I mean? That means he can make a phone call to the outside and have your family probably cut up, beat up, killed, thrown over a boat into the river with weights tied to your body and you sink into the bottom. I watched a lot of Sopranos, man, one of my favorite shows, bro. And all of that just goes through my mind. Have your family like killed and buried in a landfill somewhere. That's the mob bosses, bro. Ruthless. Ruthless.
man Marcelo. Now at the age of 76, he filed a petition in June 2020 to have his sentence tossed out. Jimmy was one of 5 top criminals who were convicted of the
And his name is Jimmy. What mob boss you know named Jimmy you want to mess with? Not none of them. Not none of them.
20 to have his sentence tossed out. Jimmy was one of 5 top criminals who were convicted of the 2007 Family Secrets racketeering case. He was convicted of taking the lives of Tony the Ant Spilotro and his brother Michael. They were found in a cornfield in June 1986 after being beaten and strangled to death in Jimmy's basement. He was sentenced to life in prison in 2009 and currently resides at the Supermax facility in Colorado, just like Mr. Hoover. Marcelo's father was also in the biz, and so was his big brother, Big Mickey. The family had influence. There were crimes that hit the news and crimes no one knows about. Either way, now Jimmy wants out. He's like, come on, give an old guy.
Y'all think they meeting out there about, huh? Huh? It ain't about their taxes. They ain't a meeting about where they want to eat lunch at. That ain't what that type of discussion is right there. That's, yeah. So is it sanctioned? This hit sanction? Yeah, it is. It's going down.
Break. Not for you, Jimmy. Not for you. And last but not least, monstrous Mugsley. Whew. When I started reading about this guy, I literally had to step away from my desk. There were some images I just didn't want to read, but here we are. Meet the man so dangerous that he is now kept in a below ground glass box in complete isolation. Not only did he take lives outside of prison, but inside of it, he was the man everyone feared. The point that made me turn away was what he did with a spoon, which dubbed him the nickname of Hannibal the Cannibal. Robert Mugsley has been locked away in a glass box, just like the infamous villain, for over 40 years. He was sentenced to life in prison after taking the lives of 4 people. His crimes were so violent, the cops nicknamed him Blue because that was the color of the first victim. But his crimes did not end behind bars. He brutalized and took the lives of abusers of young victims behind bars in vicious and terrifying ways, just like you would predict people would do in prison. He was so volatile and laissez-faire about it that the only thing the prison thought to do about it was build him his own cage. He is allowed 1 hour of exercise a day. His childhood was riddled with abuse, and he would often take most of it to protect his siblings. This violent childhood, along with his extreme intelligence, resulted in a violent appetite. However, after 40 years of psychiatry, appeals are being made to improve his well-being. Honestly, he did some awful stuff. If there's even a way out of the dark for even the worst and the worst of us, then it should be at least attempted. That's my mentality of it, but man, oof, creepy. And that was our list for today. If you liked it, let us know. If you
Bro, they got him, only picture I could think of was Magneto being in that little thing when they arrested Magneto from the during the X-Men. That's what I thought of. Bro. I'm telling you, man, y'all stay away from prison. Anybody because there's people that make prison, they act like prison is cool. Oh, you ever been to jail? Oh, you ain't even been to jail yet, man. What you talking about, bro? You ain't never did no time. You ain't I've heard conversations where prison is talked about like a badge of honor, like a stripe, you know what I mean? And I've always been like, huh? So that's what we doing? We respecting you for going to jail? Nah. That makes no sense to me. I'm cool. Why do I feel like, no, I ain't never wanted to go. Don't plan on going at all. No. Nah, for real. Somebody tell me when to wake up, when to go to sleep, when to use the bathroom, when to eat, when to, no. I'm too much of a free soul for that, bro. I like to do things on my own terms, when I want to do it, how I want to do it, and being in prison. And then when you get there, you got the added stress of having to fight for your life every day. Imagine that stress on top of things. You know what I mean? You hear the stories all the time about people who were wrongly convicted and what prison turned them into. You know what I mean? The fact that they had to be in there and be in survival mode every day turned them into something. You know what I mean? Remember the Central Park 5? Remember them? And the one dude, he was crying on, I think it was Oprah. He was like, I'm so happy I'm free, but prison messed me up. He was like, I had to become somebody in prison to survive, bro. So, nah, man, it's not cool to go to jail at all. I'm here to tell you it's not cool at all. It's okay. You ain't got to go that route. There's plenty other ways to be cool and have fun. And somebody tells you different, get away from them. And I'm going to leave it at that. Yeah, I'll get at me in the comment section, man. Let me know what you think, and stick around and stay tuned to the next reaction. I'm gone.